Hi friends, this is Leela. Welcome to my Angular NGRX course. In the previous video, we have stopped on creating the entity metadata.ts. Now, why we have stopped? So we need to install the Angular NGRX store and all those things we need to install. So after installing this Angular NGRX store dev tools, FX module and all those things, let's try to initialize it here. So what we need to do? We need to initialize the store module first. Store module. Okay, it should be store module for root. So right now we don't have anything. Let's keep it as an empty object. And next one, what it will be? Store dev tools module. Let's try to add this one. Dot instrument. Here what I will do is so log only environment dot production. Okay, so now another one will be the fx module dot for fx module dot for root. Effects module, but not showing. Effects module is quoted here. Try to add it. Effects module. Okay. Dot for root, and it will be an empty array. And now we need to include the entity module. Entity data module dot for root. Here, what I need to do? Entity config. I need to add the entity config. Now, if you go to the entity metadata, so this is the entity config I need to add. So the problem what it is happening here, it is showing the error. So let's go to the entity data module config, and here let's copy this name. Okay, we will keep the name for that one like that only. Here what we have it. Okay, so we have kept the D small letter. Okay, capital letter we have kept. Now it has been successfully compiled. I hope so. It will be compiled. Yeah, it is compiled. What we have did, so we have created a entity metadata, and whatever the entities we are having in our application, we need to add it here. So what we will be adding in this one, we'll discuss in the further videos. So this is the just wireframe. So we need to attach it to all those things to the app module. Okay. Now let's try to see once project. Okay, how this output will look like. If I go to the console, and what it is trying to do, it is immediately trying to do some HTTP request. So that is the reason it is asking about the no provider for HTTP client is provided. So that means it is somehow what is trying to make some HTTP call when we are going to the post. So now what I can do, I can go to the app module. Let's provide HTTP client module. Okay, so we have added the HTTP client module also. Let's refresh. So nothing is happening here. Okay, so everything is working fine. Now when we are in the post, we need to call some post data, and we need to load all the posts, right? So now what we need to do, we need to create one service to the post. Okay, so somehow we need to create one service. What is the service? We need to create some post. Okay, post hyphen entity dot service dot ts, or otherwise whatever the service you want. So for example, I can create post dot service dot ts. Okay, so this is the post service. So now here export class post service. Okay, it should extends entity, okay, collection service base. It should extend this one. So in entity collection service base. So here we need to pass the entity. So what is the entity? We need to pass it. Okay, now what we need to do here, we need to implement the constructor, and here it will have the service elements factory. So it will take one, we need to inject service elements factory. It should be coming from the entity collection service, not service, entity collection service elements factory. Okay, so this is the thing where we need to import, and we need to so there is nothing to do to this one. So we need to just pass it to the super constructor. Okay, so we need to tell the post type of entity, and we need to tell, and we need to send the service elements factory. That's it. So that's it, finished, completed. So now we have created the post service. Let's try to use this post service, and let's try to call. Now if I go to the post list component, okay, here we need to inject the post service, private post service, whatever the name you want, you can give post service. Okay, so this is the post service. And now if I try to see here, so first of all this dot post service dot, if you try dot, you will be able to see so many methods. So in this one we need to call the method get all. Get all means nothing but it will try to get all the posts. Let's see what it will try to do. Okay, so if I go to the slash post, okay, what it will do, so here we are having some error. Okay, post service, no provider for the post service. Okay, so what we need to do is, so where is that provider post service? Yeah, here we need to add @injectable and it should be provided in root. Okay, this is the error actually. So now what I can do here, let's refresh this page. We try to refresh this page. Here let's go to the post. If I go to the post here and see, if you see here, I am nowhere calling this API. For example, see, if you try to see here, it is trying to call some API URL, say HTTP localhost 4200 API slash post. If you try to see here API slash post, it is trying to do some GET request and somehow it is getting the 404. Okay, so this what is this doing? So here NGRX data is smart enough that we have created a service, and in this, when we are extending this post, we to extend this post, I think. Okay, yeah. So whenever we are calling this entity collection, when we are extending this entity collection service base, in this service base, this is nothing but the base service. Okay, in this base service you will be having all the methods. That is nothing but what we can say is, if you go to the ngrx.io, if you go to the architecture and in the collection service, if you go here, you will be able to see that get, add, delete, update. You will be having these are all the methods here. You will be having in the base service, you will be having all the get all, add, delete, update. You will be having all the methods in this base collection service. Okay, entity collection service base in the base service class. And what will this one will do is, so considering this entity name post, it will convert it into small letters and it will add a plural. That is the reason, if you try to see in the configuration, you will be able to see the plural names. For example, in the overview, if you try to see, here it will be having plural names. For example, hero, you will be having, what the NGRX data will try to do is, it will add s at the suffix. Okay, but we know that the plural name of this hero is es, not s. So that is the reason we are mentioning the plural name for this one. But here we didn't mention anything. So what it has what the NGRX data has did is, the NGRX data is smart enough that it has converted into the small letters and added the s at the end of the thing, and it know that when we are calling this get all, it tries to make a get request to commonly the API URL. So that is nothing but the localhost colon 4200, and with the thing as slash API slash post. Commonly it will think, is smart enough, it will think and it will try to call the URL. And also what it will try to do is, if it gets the success request, it will directly saves the data in the store itself. Okay, it will try to make the call and it will try to store the data in the store itself. Okay, so this is how it will be doing. So this is how it will bring. But here what is the problem we are having is, we are having, we doesn't have a API URL like this. So we have our own API URL, that is nothing but the Firebase. In the Firebase you will be able to do. So for example, if I go to the firebase.google.com, in the Firebase we have our endpoint URL is a separate thing. So it is in a separate manner it is. So let's take that Firebase URL, for example. Okay, and here let's go to the real-time database. Here you will be able to find the API endpoint URL, and here this is the URL here. So here if I try to go and if I try to run post.json, okay, this is our URL actually. This is our URL. We are able to see the data, right? This is our URL. So somehow we need to call get request for this URL, not for the NGRX data automatically created URL. So how can we make this one? So we need to somehow override the get all method. Okay, so whatever the execution it is doing, please don't do that thing. So we need to override that get all method. How we can override that get all method? Okay, so we need to create a data service. Okay, we need to create the data service. Here we need to create a data service, sorry, and we need to add it in the providers. So let's try to create the data service and add it in the providers. Okay, so we will try to do it in the next video. Okay, now you are able to understand, right? So now we didn't do anything using the NGRX data. Just we have created the entity map. So this entity metadata, and here we have added the what are the entities present in our application. Right now in our application we have only the post. So that is the reason singular I have mentioned the post, and we added that one to the app module, and now we have created a post service that should extend the entity collection service base. So this is the post service, it is extending the entity collection service base, and now automatically what it is trying to do, it is trying to call the /API/post, everything it will work, but our endpoint URL is not the URL what the NGRX data is framing. So we need to provide our custom URL. So for this reason, what we need to do, we need to create a separate file, so nothing but the data service, and we need to write all the methods which we are trying to override the get request or anything. Okay, we will be overriding that one. So let's try to say override those all methods in the next video. Okay, if you have any doubts or any suggestions, please post the comments below to this video, and if you like this video, please do support me by subscribing to my channel. Thank you.